Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, it was JT Toppin versus the state of Illinois. Sort of fun to watch, but also not optimal operating procedure. Back to Champaign on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan, dropping in on the fly. Chris back in God's country, fresh off a trip to Champaign, Illinois. Does not go the way we want on the scoreboard, unfortunately. You probably already know that by now. Tech falls for the first time this season at the hands of the Illini, Illinois. However, great November college basketball game. I couldn't help but notice it didn't quite feel like November to me, Chris, as we knew we'd be in for a big test. You're on the road in a real home environment, and while you fought your tail off and made a great game of it throughout the second half and down the stretch, and we'll get to some of what we learned both team-wise and individually, you come up short. A lot of respect for Illinois, Chris, but I'm also feeling like there's some big-time missed opportunity, unfortunately, for the Red Raiders that maybe would have had you on the winning side of things.
Yeah, you play this game, and both teams are missing a key piece. Obviously, you know, for you, Luke Mamboye continues to be out. Josiah Mosley obviously hasn't played, and then Leon Horner, which I think could have helped a bit, also was out. This was the kind of game that would have suited him to help defensively, certainly, especially with the foul trouble mounting. I'll have to get to that in a second. But the reason you play these games, and that Grant wanted to play it, he knew he was going to have a good team, but he wanted to expose what was right and what was wrong about his guys. And, I think that kudos to Grant and Brad Underwood for kind of coming together, because you're going to get to host these guys next year. And I hope that your crowd and the officials keep the same energy as they did last night. Yeah. 23 free throw attempts to just 4. And yet you had 52 points in the paint. So I don't know. It's just that's a tough one to stomach, but this is just life on the road and a true road game. And that's what this was. And I think you probably did learn some things about your guys. I think I told you this before we recorded, but you could just sense, there's a lot of excitement about Coach Underwood's team up there. I think Ken Palm has got them as like a top 2 or 3, 4 team in the country based on some of what they've done offensively. They scored 113 points in each of their first 2 games, and you hold them to 81, and yet you play very poorly at times. You've I guess fouled too much. You had a hard time stopping them defensively, and yet you still are right there at the end. I think there's a lot to take away from this thing and feel good about it. And as we've talked about, you're not going to get punished for this. It's you kept it. I mean, it's a one possession game right there at the end. I mean, Christian Anderson is shooting a 3 to try to tie it, and it gets blocked, and then you end up losing. But you ran the risk of getting run out of there at some point, and you give up a little 6-0 run right at the end of the half, and then you come out and you totally flip it. And I think Grant liked that about his guys. They fought. They didn't. Yeah, and they didn't sway from the game plan, because I think that they really wanted to try to hammer these guys in the paint, and they did. 52 points. You were plus 10 in that category. But you also probably gave up a bit too much in the paint as well. But you didn't have to rely on the 3-ball. And, man, if a few of those would have gone in that normally would have, maybe this thing turns out differently. But it was a great environment too, man.
Well, the 3-ball thing is one of 2 kind of areas of focus, I guess, for me, in that you didn't have to rely on it, but you definitely needed more of it, because I think what was so exciting and possibly encouraging about the remainder of the season is, your resiliency in games due to the fact that you can really get to working in the paint with JT and maybe some others along the way. But that's always going to travel, and that's just sort of rarely to never going to go away as far as your ability to get back in games. And the fight was a lot of fun to watch, because you're right, there were some portions of the game where in front of that environment you can envision walking away a 15 to 20 point loser or something like that. And Tech always had a response. But the part about the 3-point shots, I guess the two points for me leaving the game, I didn't know if I was, feeling more angst about what you didn't do defensively and some disappointment there. And I'm also trying to tell myself it's week number 2 of the season.
Right.
So maybe give it a chance to come together. But look, it's Coach McCaslin's fault for setting the standard so high. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about as good as it's looked in some of these other years. But the defensive letdowns definitely frustrating. But same time offensively, Chris, if you are doing what you can do with Toppin and maybe a dose of Watts and whatever near the rim, you got to be shooting it better. I mean, just some of the shots from beyond the arc that are free, and they weren't all great looks, not trying to say that, but what you wind up at 27%, I think, from beyond the arch. You're just going to have to be better there because you're going to continue to have those looks. I mean, it's going to have to be a part of it, and I hope you're never reliant upon it for the offense in totality. But I was a little disappointed in that, I guess, primarily offensively, and everybody kind of shared in that.
Yeah, and like you look at it, Atwell and Brian, your two seniors, they're 2 for 8 from behind the arc, and they scored 3 points apiece. Just not enough help on that end, and then there's just not going to be another game where Christian Anderson goes 0 for 6 from behind the arc. I'd be willing to bet you that he would tell you he needs to play a lot better. He didn't play bad, but he, did you need him to play better? Yeah. To hit a shot. I don't think he scored in the second half. He still facilitated. I think he had 11 assists in the game, but you needed. It's a different role for Christian, right? Like in this program and on this team than what he had last year. He's kind of. He wasn't under the radar, but it was like what he gave you last year was kind of gravy, and you never like looked at him and go, okay, I got to have it from you, because you had Hawkins, you had McMillan, you had Williams, you had Toppin, you had Federico, whatever.
He was assistant to the man.
Yeah,
now he's one of the mans.
But right now, I mean, it's like you needed him to be better, and it sucks, but that's just the. And he'll respond. He'll be fine. And he, like I said, he didn't play bad. You needed him to hit a few more shots.
Well, Chris, that flashes across my mind when talking about Anderson in that way. I've kind of assumed coming into the year there's going to be some give and take scoring wise and point guard or set up the offense distribution wise with him. Did we see any of that at play, you think?
Well, are you talking about what role he's in?
Well, I mean, look. Last year, I viewed him as a scorer. This year, he's playing PG, and he's 11 to 3 assists to turnover, but he only scores 6. And so I'm thinking, are we seeing some of that give and take at play in that maybe he doesn't get into the scoring rhythm he would have otherwise because he's got other obligations? I don't know. But I've kind of thought we're going to have to sacrifice something scoring from him for him to really be at his best from a point guard standpoint.
Well, I think he's at his best when he thinks score. I think that he plays off of that when the mentality is I've got to score it, because then when he's aggressive like that, and this is also like an Illinois team that was freakishly long. I mean, they were missing one of their 7-footers, but they had another one, the brother, and then there's just a lot of 6'9" and 6'6" and 6'7", and the Stojakovic is like, I don't know, he was like 6'5", I felt like, and pretty thick, and it's just a big. People just don't get it. Like I'm around kids that want to go play college basketball sometimes, like at high school or whatever, and I'm out there looking at this thing and like, this is big boy stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, they're pulling these. I mean, because they call them the Balkan Five. These guys are playing for Illinois. There's like Montenegro, Croatia. I mean, they're pulling them from all over the country to come in here and just bomb away. It's just a different kind of game these days, man. It is a big boy game. And like Lawan Watts is 6'5", 6'6", and he looked tiny at times, like undersized, just with what he was having to do. And they were playing volleyball with you to a certain extent. So I think that it was difficult for Christian to kind of penetrate in some cases and kind of get the shots off that normally we could with angles and how good he is. What you learned though was there were some guys on your team.
First, today's episode brought to you by SupplyHouse. And when the whistle blows on a new repair, you can get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. SupplyHouse's real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting any projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Needing parts fast for a project? SupplyHouse has next day delivery, and that's a game changer. And their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make any process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. And visit SupplyHouse.com to sign up for free and use our promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's SHCollege5 at SupplyHouse.com for 5% off your first order. Real people, real service at SupplyHouse.com.
What you learned, though, was there were some guys on your team that got coached a lot harder last night than they probably have ever gotten coached before. The environment was probably something that they had never seen before. And I will tell you, short of I think you go play at you're in Provo and you're in Tucson. The environment you were just in may eclipse both of those, and that is saying a mouthful. And so you get some interesting reactions. Your head coach was fired up. Your head coach is like, this was high stakes. This was big boy Power 4 top 15 teams, and it was a Big 12 road game in every sense, but the highest of quality of Big 12 road games that you can muster up. I mean, the environment was damn impressive. So, and the officiating worked against you, and so with all that, but like Donovan Atwell and Tyree Bryan are going to have to learn from this. They're going to have to produce on both ends of the floor. I think that both of them were, I don't want to say like shell-shocked, but they were both like easing into this deal and like, really like kind of sped up on one end and maybe too slow on the other end. And it just doesn't equal their best effort. And they got coached, and Jalen Petty got coached. Nolan Groves got coached. Nolan Groves was, you put him in there and he just couldn't keep guys in front of him defensively. And then he just doesn't record a rebound, doesn't do anything offensively for you. And I think when he comes out, Grant was like, I can't put you in. You can't guard anybody tonight. But these are true freshmen. You're asking a lot of them. And, Petty was out there at one point, and he's kind of like street balling it and hunting his shot and not really playing within the flow of the offense. And it's like, out you come. Then when he puts him back in, it's like he gets an inside-out three. It goes in. It's like, see what happens when you just let the game come to you instead of trying to, this isn't about you. But these are all learning experiences. This is what Grant wanted to find out. And I tell you what you did find out, though, Cowan. God dang, is JT Toppin good. Mm-hmm. He was the best player you had on both ends of the floor, and it wasn't even close. And if you could have just had a little bit more help from the supporting cast, you could have pulled it off. Because Stojakovic just ate you up, except for, this is Paige's kid. I know everybody that watched the game, I was told that they were showing Pops on TV a bunch. He's a bucket, and like he could do whatever he wanted, except for when JT was on him. When he dealt with a bigger, longer Toppin, he had no answer. But Bryan, Atwell, Groves, Christian, he just kind of bullied his way to the rim, and he just scores. I mean, he averaged 18 a game at Cal last year, and he's a handful. But it was a problem. And then meanwhile, like watching a 7'2" guy scratch his head going back up and down the floor because he can't block that left-handed hook for JT Toppin, that was the one amusing thing I had going for me all night. I enjoyed that thoroughly. It was a repeated head scratch. He's like, how can I not reach it? I'm like, I'm touching the scoreboard. I'm jumping so high, and it's just over. But JT is so good.
Yeah, good to see you, Peja. See you never again. Thanks. Filled my quota on Peja views for the rest of my life. I want to beef with the foul shot discrepancy, the free throw discrepancy, sort of, but I also am wondering, and we'll get back into this on an upcoming episode and see how it plays out to the non-con, if there's a lot more to be desired as far as Tech aggression toward the rim, because you're not exactly attacking that I've really noticed in that element. It was like, here's JT in the middle to do his work, which is also mostly in hook form, not necessarily attacking the rim in his own case. So I don't know. I wonder if that's going to kind of be an uphill climb for you this season, but definitely got out of control and far too lopsided than you would like that particular night.
I thought the officiating was as homerish as you will see. And part of it you understand going into it, but it was, some of the stuff, it's like when Lawan Watts supposedly fouled, let's see, who was it? Boswell on the 3-point attempt, and some of the bumping that they allow. Because here's what frustrates me. I was about to drop some colorful language. Oh, I paused it because I'm getting fired up. Like, if anybody in the country deserves any kind of reputation call or any sort of not having to play through it and whatever, it's Toppin. I don't what are we even doing? And yet I just thought that some of the Illinois guys baiting you into calls and they're just barreling through there. They got some continuations and it's like, you got a dude down here that is going to work, but even getting the ball and positioning just to get the catch, he's just getting hammered. And you were intentional about going to the rim. You scored 52 points in the paint, and I just don't want to. I just can't sit here and say that crew was. So I hope they keep that same energy when Illinois makes the return trip. You hope it's as lopsided there, and you get because I don't remember Texas Tech getting a home whistle like that in a long time against an opponent like that. But
I don't know if I've ever seen it in my life. 22.
Yeah. In the bye games, and you kind of know what you're getting into. But when you're a top 15, this isn't how they. You imagine like Bill Self or Kelvin Sampson or somebody coming into your building. Or Brad Underwood next year, and it being 23-4 on free throw attempts. I'm like, come on, man. What are we even doing? And yet you were just right there. And they were complaining about the flagrant one. Boswell just ran up and he just doesn't make a play on the ball, just grabs Watts, and they're like, we've upgraded a flagrant one. Everybody loses their damn mind. What are we doing? Boneheaded plays, and it gave you a chance, but you couldn't take advantage of it.
Wish you could have got the dub. You took the L, unfortunately, but hopefully you took a lesson with it and will be a better team because of this early season test. And there are more looming. Back at it from the USA to wrap up the week, but then big stuff coming up on the other side with all due respect to the next opponent. Chris, appreciate your extra time to recap what went down in Champaign, man. Enjoy it. We'll see you for the next one.
Orange Crush my ass. I prefer grape soda. But hey, man, appreciate the time. You'll bounce back and you will learn from it. And this was, again, I think it was a game that you will absolutely learn from. You'll be hardened from it, and guys will be better. I'm not worried about your team. You need your big boy back too. You need a little rim protection, and Luke Bamboye needs to get back in a hurry. He is needed. He is wanted, and got to get that part settled in. So we'll talk to everybody next time. Keep hope alive, and we're just getting started. The bracket doesn't even come out for another 4 months, so no panic here.
Yeah, come on, Bamboye. Never seen him. Don't even know him. Love him. Miss him. Get better soon. Would love to see you soon for the first time. All right. For Chris, I'm Casey. Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks to the everydayers, sometimes twice a dayers, and, of course, the Matador Mob. Hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. If you're interested in joining that outlaw crew, it's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. Thanks for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.